Most of us slow down a little as we get older, and we come to appreciate quality time with our friends. When the Fosters and the Gregorys get together, Harry and Carol and Kenny and Susie, they go fishing. And when they invited us along one morning this summer, we learned that the real story is not what they're catching today. It's how they got here.
Come on, fish. It's about time.
Carol grew up around the water, and she's fished just about as long as she can remember. But now she has a bad back. Really bad. It hurts just about all the time. And some days she can barely move.
We met a little over 3 years ago.
When Carol met Harry, he was more interested in playing tennis.
First time I went over to her house there, she said, "Let me introduce you to my baby." And I thought, oh boy, she's got a Corvette or something. Took me out in the garage, and there was this 16-foot bayliner. And I thought, oh no.
He never caught a fish, driven a boat, or even tried to. But it meant a lot to her. So Harry decided he was going to learn.
I didn't even like being on the water, but if that was her passion and that's what she wanted to do was be on the water, I started studying the manual on the boat and the motor.
Harry learned how to drive the boat, and the first time he took Carol fishing, he sat there and drank coffee and read the paper. But she was not going to put up with that.
So our first fishing trip, he just chauffeured me around from spot to spot. And at the end of the day, I said, "Are you sure you don't want to wet a hook?"
But she finally got me to drop a hook in the water. And I pulled up about a 3-pound channel cat.
And a fisherman was born.
And then I've been hooked ever since.
Remember, Harry was close to 60 when he caught his first fish. But starting that late is not a problem. Just don't be afraid to ask questions.
It's really good to ask questions. Heck, I've been fishing for 40 years more, but I still ask a lot of questions and learn all the time. And Harry started from ground zero, and he's just catching up a lot quicker. He's just asking his questions more rapidly than we do anymore.
Now, Harry and Carol are getting pretty good at this for only having been at it a couple of years, but when they first started out, the fishing was sometimes kind of slow. In fact, they called themselves the one-fish wonders, but that's not that way anymore.
Kenny and Susie came along right about the time Harry started getting good at this. They'd moved down here from Indiana to be close to Kenny's grandkids, and by that time, Harry was all over the local websites, asking questions about boats and fishing, and sometimes giving answers. Kenny saw Harry's comments online, and he needed a fishing buddy, so he called Harry on the phone, and they went from there. But Kenny and Susie's situation was a little different. This time, he was the one who lived outdoors, and she was working hard to catch up.
I started fishing and hunting with Kenny because I found out early in our relationship that if I wanted to spend a lot of time with him, I had to get on board with that real quick.
So Susie's got first fish, biggest fish, the most fish.
Who catches the biggest fish? I normally do.
I do.
Usually Sue or Carol.
I don't care. I don't care.
And he really doesn't, because Harry and Kenny would just about rather put their wives on fish than catch any of their own.
I can't watch her hook a fish without smiling, no matter how big or small.
And you know that is not about the fish.
It lets me know how much he loves me. And how much I love him for sharing all of this with me. And I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Working. Biggest fish on.
It's a whopper. At least he's pretty.
She just hangs in there and perseveres when the fish aren't biting. But the good thing is when the fish are biting, she doesn't feel any pain. She's occupied.
Maybe the time to count your blessings is when you're old enough and you've been through enough to realize what those blessings really are.
He's the love of my life, and I just want this to last forever.
That's one thing that I can see when I'm too decrepit to play golf and too old to play with the grandkids. I'm going to be sitting out there in a boat, and hopefully she's going to be right beside me, and Harry and Carol will be around the corner yelling they caught the biggest one when they know we did.
But big fish or little fish, Harry and Carol and Kenny and Susie are living proof that you're never too old to learn something new, and it's never too late to find yourself exactly where you're meant to be.
He knows how much I enjoy it, and he makes it all that more fun.
He makes a big effort about my happiness every bit of every day. And he's just my God-given man, sweetheart.
Not a keeper yet, but a lot of fun to play with.
I'm Craig Owensby on Tennessee's Wild Side.